पहिला चेक गरौँ लाइभ छौं कि छैनौं त ओके हामी लाइभ छौं साउन्ड आछ कि छैन भन्ने कुरो हो सो आजदेखि चाहिँ म जहिले पनि मोस्टली बेलुका चाहिँ लाइभ स्ट्रिम गर्दिएको हुन्छु सिक्नको लागि के कुराहरु सिकिन्छ नयाँ कुराहरु अनि त्यसको लागि मलाई चाहिँ लारावेलमा क्राउड गर्न आउँछ त्यसपछि सिम्पल सानोतिनो वेबसाइट बनाउन आउँछ मैले अघि भर्खरै एउटा वेबसाइट बनाउँछु म देखाइहाल्छु सायद त्यही खुल्छ होला PHP artisan artisan सर्भ यो वेबसाइट अघि भर्खर मैले बनाएको हो रिड मोरमा गयो भने रिड मोर अप्सन खुल्छ ब्याक टु न्यूज तर मैले बनाउन खोजेको चाहिँ यो लारावेल थिच्दाखेरि लारावेल आउने यो पेजेसहरुको अप्सन चाहिँ यसमा इम्प्लिमेन्ट होइन ड्याशबोर्ड पनि छ यसको ड्याशबोर्ड चाहिँ यसबाट छ के अरे सायद ड्याशबोर्ड पनि छ एड पोस्ट छ यसमा सिधै पोस्ट मात्रै एड गर्न मिल्छ यहाँ एडिट गर्ने बनाउँदै छु जो बनाएको छैन सो व्हाट आई मेन्ट टु से आई एम नट कम्प्लिटली नूब म कम्प्लिटली नूब चाहिँ हैन हल्का फल्का नलेज छ तर पुरै नलेज चाहिँ छैन र मलाई पुरै नलेज बनाउनु छ त्यसको लागि चाहिँ मैले फेरि स्क्रैचबाटै सिक्न थालेको र मैले अघि सर्च गर्दा भेटेको उ चाहिँ भेटेको कुनबाट खोज्दै थिएँ भेटेको भिडियो चाहिँ कुन थियो भन्दाखेरि यसमा थियो सायद यसबाट हेर्दै थिएँ हिस्ट्रीमा जाउँ त ओके यहाँनेरि छ लर्न लारावेल बाइ मेकिङ अ मिडियम क्लोन यो चाहिँ 7 घण्टा लामो भिडियो अब यसलाई फलो गरौँ हैन कति मिनेटसम्म गर्न चाहिन्छ अनि त्यही अनुसारले हामी गर्दै जाउँ न कति मिनेटसम्म गर्न चाहिन्छ मेरो प्लानिङ चाहिँ 7 घण्टा नै सकाउने हो आज सकिँदैन अभियस कुरा हो जहिले सकिन्छ लाग्छ केही दिन
I don't see any post on my homepage even though I am following to Taylor user. If I open then Taylor public page, I don't see also any post from here because the post is not published. It's going to be published in the future. Every user has its own profile page and by clicking on this you can change your avatar or you can adjust your bio text which will be displayed when somebody is accessing your public profile page. So your bio information will be displayed on the following area. We're going to build this project from absolutely scratch and you're going to see every single line of code I'm going to write. There will be no copy paste even for the design thing.
सबै स्क्रैचबाट बनाउनु भनेर भन्दै छ जुन चाहिँ रमाइलो कुरा हो तर टाइम पनि लाग्छ
migrations, all the design and everything what we are going to build. And believe me, you're going to learn a lot by building this project. If you're stuck at any moment and you want to check the source code, you can have a look in the video description or just go in my GitHub repository, the code/laravel medium cron, and this is the project we are going to build. If you find this tutorial and this project helpful, I would really appreciate if you check my YouTube channel where I have over 300 videos around PHP, Laravel and JavaScript. You can check it, you can explore it. If you find it useful, I would really appreciate if you subscribe to the channel. I also have some premium courses on my website, thecodecode.com, and if you are interested, just have a look. Before we start, I want to say a big thanks to the Free Code campaign for making this content available for free and helping those who can't afford premium courses. Okay, I'm super excited and I think we can start building this project. Now let's set up development environment for
डेभलपमेन्ट इन्भाइरोमेन्ट सेटअप गर्ने भनेर भन्दैछ
which is a package and this can
हेरौँ न जसले हेर्दै हुनुहुन्छ सब्स्क्राइब गर्नुहोले
create and manage your Laravel projects. It has Nginx, PHP, MySQL, Redis, couple of more services.
ठिकै छ यो त मैले ल्याम्प
But in this tutorial,
इन्स्टल गरेको छु
with the free version, and we're going to use SQLite as a choice of the database. Laravel Herd is available for Windows and Mac and download it for your operating system and install it. However, if you are on Linux, you might need to separately download PHP, maybe SQLite, packages, extensions, Composer.
ओके मैले त इन्स्टल गरिसकेको छु सबै
Laravel project using terminal. I'm going to show you how you can create new Laravel project using terminal as well as using Laravel Herd interface.
कोडिङमा चाहिँ जाउँ न फटाफट
Download for Windows.
इन्भाइरोमेन्ट सेटअप गरिरहेछ
Click on this install. Once it is installed, you have to open Laravel Herd and you're going to see
Okay.
the welcome screen.
सबै एक्सप्लेन गर्ने रहेछ सबै कुरा एक्सप्लेन गर्ने रहेछ
The latest PHP version, and it's going to also say
त्यही त
Node.js, npm, and content. Right here, see, you can see the general overview of Laravel Herd, the Herd paths, the one path which is looped by Laravel Herd. Inside PHP, you can install different PHP versions, and then you can switch to a different PHP version from the dashboard if you want. Main thing when you have Laravel, because this is the Laravel course, I'm going to stick with no starter kit. I'm not going to introduce any other frameworks.
ओके नो स्टार्टर
And
किट
click on next. Then we have to give this the project name. Let me call this Laravel-course. You can choose the testing framework, PES or PHP unit, whichever you want. I'm going to stick with PES because this is kind of the default standard for Laravel new projects. And I'm going to
लारावेल कोर्स भनेर बनायो यसले
new Laravel.
हामी पनि बनाउनु त यो कार्य काम छैन नाइट स्ट्रिम भनेर राखौँ अब एउटा फोल्डर बनाऊ नाइट स्ट्रिम I is already using this folder नाइट स्ट्रिम अगाडिदेखि नै बनाएछ बेसिक CMS ओके नाइट स्ट्रिम बेसिक CMS छ अर्को हालौँ त यहाँ हामी नि प्रोजेक्ट नाम के अरे लारावेल कोर्स कंपोजर create project create composer create project composer create project from laravel slash laravel composer laravel के नाम थियो laravel course laravel course भने नो स्टार्टर ल मैले नै बनाइदिए यहाँ चाहिँ के ल्याउनु छ किन laravel नोट्समा made the project called laravel course side night stream folder cd laravel course code
Project already inside the Herd, and it's going to also assign a domain for this. If you want to create new Laravel project using CLI, let's open PowerShell in my case. case, I'm going to open PowerShell, I'm going to zoom in, and we have to execute, let's navigate actually inside code, and we have to execute laravel new and the project name. Let's call this project-test. Hit enter. Again, it's going to ask us which starter kit we want to stick with. We're going to choose 9 here, and just follow few questions, and that's going to be it. So click none right here, it's going to create the project, then it is going to ask us which database we want to use. We're going to choose SQLite, and that's it. So you have to basically follow the same steps on any operating system if you have a Laravel installer to be the latest version. Make sure the Laravel installer to be version 5.12 in the above, because that is the new Laravel installer which has the new. However, we created 2 projects, one from CLI, second from UI. Let's open the UI as well, and as we see, your application is created successfully. We can click this open in browser, and it's going to open us the laravel-course.test. We can close this, and now right here we see 4 projects. Of course, we don't need both of them. I just showed you how you can create new projects using terminal, so I'm going to delete this project test site. I can also close this project test, otherwise it is not going to work. In this tutorial, I'm going to use VS Code as a choice of the editor to work on our Laravel projects. Typically, there are 2 main alternatives to work on PHP and Laravel. One, VS Code, and second is PHP Storm. I typically use PHP Storm because I feel that it is much more complete solution than VS Code. However, VS Code and the Laravel extensions are getting much better and better. And for this specific tutorial, I want to use VS Code because my working environment to be as close to yours as possible, so that if you have any issues, you can just have a look at my screen.
Okay, VS Code. ठीक है, VS Code आने था वो.
And I feel VS Code is much more like common editor because it is actually open source and free.
Okay.
So download VS Code for your operating system. You're going to need also the following extensions. I use PHP extension as a choice of the PHP syntax highlighting, auto-completion, and so on. We're going to use these Laravel extensions.
PHP extension भन्दैछ. PHP Laravel हालिसकेको छु मैले.
80,000 downloads, and it works very well. This is the official VS Code extension for Laravel created by Laravel team. As a theme, my theme, I know you're gonna ask me what theme I use or what icon theme I use. So this is it. I use Polyline theme, and I use Atom Material icons as well. I use Polyline theme in
Pale Night भन्छ. Pale Night, Polynight.
or what icon theme I use. So this is it. I use Polynight theme, and I use Atom Material icons as well.
If you like and Atom Material.
So make sure you have all of them installed. This PHP extension actually has dependency extensions. So once you install this extension, it is going to install other extensions as well. Okay, so make sure you have installed VS Code, all these extensions, and now we're going to open the project. So this is the sites folder, and I'm going to click on this path. It is going to bring up the Explorer, Windows Explorer in my case, and I'm going to right click on this Laravel course, click on show more options, and open with code. And here we go. So we have the project open inside VS Code, and these are the icons and theme I typically use. Now let's open terminal through terminal, new terminal, and now we are going to execute npm install. That is necessary if you created the project using herd user interface. However, if you created this using terminal, we actually already executed npm install. If you're on Linux and want to start your Laravel application using terminal, you have to execute composer run dev. On Linux, this is gonna work probably on Mac as well, but on Windows, I get the following error that it was not actually able
के भन्नु यसले npm install भनेर भन्छ npm install terminal npm install npm install
start your Laravel application using terminal, you have to execute composer run dev.
composer run dev
On Linux, this is gonna work probably on Mac as well, but on Windows, I get the following error that it was not actually able to start the application on the following URL 127.0.1.8000 or 8001. It tried different ports but was not able to start them. And to fix this, we need to go into herd installation, config herd in PHP 8.4, and we have to open PHP init file. We have to search for from here egpcs. Let's find this right here, and inside variables folder we're going to change this from egpcs into gpcs. We're going to save this
सबै गर्नु पर्दैन लिनक्समा छु म
test using laravel herd or
Sorry.
it really doesn't matter. The main thing is that you're going to also have a Vite server up and running. So in my case, I'm going to stick with laravel herd. So I'm going to actually stop this. I don't need composer run dev, which actually runs 3 commands at the same time, but I'm going to only execute npm run dev, which is going to spin up the Vite server. I'm going to close.
okay npm run dev
Close this localhost or 127.0.0.1 port 8000, and I'm going to work on this Laravel host.test. Now, let's have a look at the folder and file structure in the Laravel project. So we have a couple of the most important folders inside which we're going to work mostly in our project. One of them is app folder. We're going to work inside app folder a lot. It has only 3 folders at the moment, but actually if we execute certain commands, more folders will be created inside the app folder. So that contains app HTTP controller, this is the base controller, we have modules, and we have providers. At the moment there is only one provider, this is the app service provider. Now let's bring the terminal. I'm going to click on plus right here and open new terminal, and I'm going to look at the artisan. So let's execute php artisan list. And this is going to give me a list of all the available commands.
php artisan list
What is there inside the artisan? Let's scroll at the very top and see everything starts right here. We have the framework version as well, and we have a couple of options on the artisan itself, but here are the available commands, such as about, clear, compile, and so on. And we have some top level commands such as about, db, and so on, but we also have a namespace type of commands, such as out, such as config, such as db, and we have to execute namespace name, colon, and then the command name. So let me execute php artisan about, and let's have a look. So this is it. So we see the application name, which is Laravel, the Laravel version, PHP version, and everything as you see. Inside the config, events, roles, they are not actually cached. The views are actually cached, and we see driver specific things as well for broadcasting, caching, database, and so on. We can, if we want to see a list of commands inside the specific namespace, we can execute PHP artisan, a namespace name such as make, and then dash dash hit the enter, and you see every information about this make namespace and available comments for the make namespace as well. So artisan is kind of your best framed tool in the command line, and you're going to use it a lot to generate new files, create caches, and so on. Now let's talk a little bit of configuration. As we already mentioned, .en file is the main configuration file using which you can change most of the configuration options, such as you can change the application local or fallback local, you can change the application URL, you can go and change the log channel from stack into something else, change the database, and so on. So I recommend to have a look and see what options are available inside this .en file. However, if you want more advanced configuration, you can have a look in the config folder and open the corresponding configuration file for which you're going to make some changes. As an example, let's click on this database, scroll down below, and we see the DB connection right here. We see a couple of connections, and it's going to use these EN files. If we scroll down below, we're going to find the migrations as an example, and the table for migrations is migrations. And this is not an EN file. If we decide that we want to change the table name into something else, which is tmp_migrations, so this is the place you're going to do this. Okay? So the config files are there to just give you the information what configuration options are available. However, if you are not going to make any changes inside these configuration files, feel free to delete that if you want so, because these configuration files actually already exist in Laravel core, and then the framework simply use the Laravel core version of it. Or if you decide that you're going to only modify that migration option, you can delete everything else, every key value peers from this database PHP, and leave only migrations and modify the table as an example. And then again, Laravel will take the default values from vendor, from core, and changes right there. Now let's see how we can create our first route in Laravel application. For this, let's go into routes folder, click on web.php, open that, and let's define a new route.
By the way,
Then get, because we're going to listen to get request and provide the URL on which we're going to listen. Let's call this hello. And then we can provide either a closure function or a controller and the method which needs to be executed. For now, let's simply provide a function here like this, semicolon at the end, and from here we can return something as a string or as a view. For now, let's just return hello and hello Zura. Let's save this, let's open the browser and access/hello, and we're going to see hello Zura. However, if we want to create new view file, then we need to go under resources, views, and just like we have welcome right here, we have to create new file. However, just keep in mind that the welcome written right here corresponds to the following welcome blade PHP. You don't need to provide .blade.php. As you mouse over, you see the file is welcome blade PHP. So you can actually create hello.blade.php inside views and then render it using view hello in the following way. Now let's open the terminal and we're going to install Laravel Breeze. By executing composer require laravel/breeze.
Composer require Laravel Breeze. To install Laravel Breeze, composer require Laravel Breeze.
Hit the enter, it is going to require and install the first party package Laravel Breeze, which is a package and
okay, यो भनेको थियो हाम्रो प्रोजेक्ट के रन भइरहेछ यसमा ओके byte run भइरहेको छ php artisan sub fpo project composer require laravel bridge composer require laravel bridge
has everything what you need for authentication, such as the registration, login, email verification as well. If you want, we can have password reset. It provides all these views and UI components. Once this is installed, we're going to execute PHP artisan breeze install, which is going to give us a couple of options which breeze stack we want to install. Blade with Alpine, Livewire,
php artisan bridge install php artisan bridge install
here React,
php artisan bridge
view. So we're going to use Blade with Alpine because we don't want to introduce any other frameworks such as Livewire, React, or Vue. We're going to stick with Blade. This is the Laravel course we want to learn the fundamentals and basics. So I'm going to type Blade here, hit the enter. We want dark mode, no, for now let's just skip the dark mode, and for the testing framework we're going to stick with the default one, test. We're going to hit the enter, and it's going to actually update the composer JSON, update the packages right there, and it's going to install a couple of files. It's going to put a couple of files in our project, and we're going to see the result and explore it. Breeze scaffolding has been done, and we can have a look inside this npm run dev server, which is now broken, and we have to stop this and re-execute npm run dev, and now everything will be good. Now we check in the browser on /home page. Actually the welcome page is the same, but now we see right here login and register. Alright, so if you click on login, this is the login page. If you click on register, this is the register page. And these are
ओके यिनीहरु चाहिँ सल्भ गरिसकेको कुरो
coming from Laravel Breeze. You could try it right now and to create an account very quickly. Now as you see, we are already authenticated. We see the dashboard page.
ओके रेजिस्टर गरौँ त नाम आफ्नै हालौँ ईश्वर admin@gmail.com Okay.
You see right here profile and logo pages as well, and all that is coming from Laravel Breeze. Now let's have a look at the files and folders what has been changed. Inside resources views, previously we only had welcome blade, which is still there, but right now it displays this login and sign up, the register buttons as well. So we have this dashboard blade, which is exactly what we see right now in the browser. We can get close to this and explore this in the next lessons, but what I want to show you just the general overview what has been changed. We have this out folder right now, and it has a couple of blade files such as login, register, reset password, verify email address, and you get the idea. Inside components, we have some reusable generic components such as danger button, drop-down link, drop-down, and so on. We also have the layout section where we have 3 files: app blade, which is the application layout. We have the guest blade, which is for non-authenticated users, and this layout is actually used when we try to access to a login page. This is for the guest layout, as we see right here. We have this application logo as well, dashboard, menu item, the navigation item, and we also have this profile logo. Everything will be inside this navigation. We can have a look. Logo menu item right here as well, profile menu item right here as well. And we also see profile section where we have this edit blade, which is rendered when we click on this profile. This is for the edit blade, and it is split into a couple of parts, such as for the update profile information, update password form, and delete user form. And we have 3 sections also on the profile page. Now let's close all these files, and we're going to open now root section, and we're going to see what is going on right there. So inside routes we had previously only console and web PHP, but now if we open web PHP, that web file actually is updated. And we also have our PHP, and that web PHP actually is including our PHP. So if we observe this first, we don't see our hello world because it got overwritten by Laravel Breeze. We see the dashboard, which renders the dashboard view, and we see the following profile related rules as well. To view the profile, to update the profile, and to delete the profile. We're going to talk more about it as well. However, if you open the following out blade, we're going to see much more rules right here, and it's going to use the following controllers: registered user controller create, registered user controller store. So this simply renders the registration form, this submits the registration form, and so on. And we also have a couple of more roles for authenticated users. This is to verify email address. This is actually to render verify email address. This is to verify email address actually, and we also have this verification, notification, and confirm password, and so on. Let's actually have a look in this.
Subscribe जसले हेर्नुभएको छ प्लिज सब्सक्राइब.
See what this actually is doing. And as you see, it is rendering a view from our register, and that our and confirm password, and so on. Let's actually have a look in this registered user controller create action and see what this actually is doing. And as you see, it is rendering a view from our register, and that our .register actually means a register.blade.php file inside our folder. So that actually renders the following file from resources, views, out, register blade PHP. If we have a look in the store method, which is actually used to actually create the user in the database, so this is what it does. So it validates the data, it is creating new user, it is triggering an event that the user has been created, it is marking the user to be authenticated, and redirecting user into the dashboard page. So we can have a look and go ahead and see all the controllers and views and every single detail what has been added into Laravel Breeze, and I really encourage you to do so. But if I focus on every single change what has been done by Laravel Breeze, I feel that this is going to take significant number of hours. And this is the beauty of Laravel and Laravel Breeze. It is going to give you this scaffolding thing for the whole flow of the authentication, so that instead of implementing this whole authentication system from scratch, you can actually building your application. So as a
Should
challenge,
he
I leave this to you to have a look in these controllers, such as authenticated session controller, which is for logging user in. So it renders the login view, it simply authenticates the user, and so on. So you might not understand every single thing what is happening right here, but I'm sure step by step you're gonna understand everything. And also you're gonna stick with the course and you're gonna learn also a lot of things. So that's the beauty of Laravel Breeze, and this is just why I love Laravel, because it has so many things that you can actually focus on most important things when building your project. And now we have this built-in Laravel authentication, and the only thing I'm going to change right now is actually implementing this email verification, because right now when I registered I was immediately authenticated, but we want email verification. So for this we're going to open user.php model, and we are going to implement must verify email, and that needs to be imported must verify.
Implementing email verification. Implementing email
email
user.php में implement must verify email.
And once we do this is the only change we need to do. After this, when we try to create new account, and let's create now John at example.com, let's provide the password, hit the enter, and this is the screen what we see. Thanks for signing up. Before getting started, could you verify your email address by clicking on the link we just emailed to you? If you didn't receive the email, okay, you read the text, right? So, and if we haven't received an email, we can click this resend verification email. And the whole idea is that we are not able to actually access dashboard unless we verify our email address. And that's very cool thing. But where is the email address to click on verify? By default, if we have a look in .en file and we search for mail here, we see mailer is actually log, which means that every new email is sent inside the log file. So let's go into storage, logs, Laravel log, and as you see right here, we have the very first email.
Here repeat it.
In .en file, and we search for mail. Here we see mail. Where is the email address? We verify our email address.
Okay, यति गरिसकेपछि okay.
And that's very cool thing. But we are default, if we have a look in .en file and we search for mail here, we see mail mailer is actually a log, which means that every new email is sent inside the log file. So let's go into storage, log. Laravel log, and as you see right here, we have the very first email. This is sent to john@example.com, verify email address, and we see all the email details. And hello, please click on the button below to verify your email address, and this is the link on which we need to click. So I'm going to click on this link. It is going to open in the browser, and it verified me, and now I am already authenticated. I'm John, I'm authenticated. If I refresh this, I'm also redirected into the dashboard. However, I really like MailPit, which is the email testing tool. And I recommend to download MailPit, and you can see those emails in the browser. So just go into the document or installation section and download it for your operating system. For Windows, there's an exe file which I actually use, and I have it available in my home directory MailPit section. Right here I see this MailPit. So I'm going to actually open in terminal. Now the following path, and I'm going to execute MailPit, which is going to start listening on the following ports: 1025 and 8025. And if we see this localhost port 8025 in the browser, we're going to see this nice UI which is going to show all the emails, what will be sent on port 1025. But for this we have to go in our en file, and we have to change this mail mailer from log into SMTP. And we're gonna set the localhost to be 127.0.0.1. We can set the mail port to be 1025. We can save this. We don't need to do anything else. And now let's create one more account. So this needs to be open and active and running. So we're gonna minimize this, and let's close this. Let's log out, and we are going to create one more account, Mary. Let's provide mary@example.com. Hit the enter, and as you see, thanks for signing up. We see the same message, but right here we see one. If we come right here, we see this email. Verify your email address, and this is sent to mary@example.com. This is the subject, and as you see, this is the email. Nice looking email. Click on this verify email, and now Mary is also authenticated inside the system and verified. And this is pretty cool. If we try to authenticate right now, we can leave this, we can go back. I think we can close this. If we try to authenticate using Zura right now, I think Zura also needs to verify email address, right? And I can click on this resend verification email. Zura was actually created when the email verification was not necessary at that time, but now it is necessary. And Zura has not verified the email address. So right here, Zura receives an email, clicks
कस्तो रमाइलो के या पर रमाइलो यतातिर मेल आइरहेछ यतातिर ऊ आइरहेछ नाइस डट एनबीमा केलाई चेन्ज गर्ने थियो मैले राम्रोसँग हेरिदिनु त्यतिखेर
and we're gonna set the local host to be 127.0.0.1. We can set the mail port to be 1025.
मेल
We can save this.
25
We don't need to do anything else. And now let's create one more account. So this needs to be open and active and running. So we're going to minimize this and let's close this. Let's log out and we are going to create one more account. Mary, let's provide
please click the button below. Cool.
Marriott.example.com. Hit the enter, and as you see, thanks for signing up. We see the same message, but right here we see one. If we come right here, we see this email. Verify your email address, and this is sent to Marriott.example.com. This is the subject, and as you see, this is the email. Nice looking email. Click on this verify email, and now Mary is also authenticated inside the system and verified. And this is pretty cool. If we try to authenticate right now, we can leave this. We can go back. I think we can close this. If we try to authenticate using Zura right now, I think Zura also needs to verify email address, right? And I can click on this resend verification email. Zura was actually created when the email verification was not necessary at that time, but now it is necessary. And Zura has not verified the email address. So right here, Zura receives an email, clicks on that, and it has been verified, and Zura is actually authenticated. You can refresh it and see that as well. Now, before we talk about database and migrations, I'm going to show you a cool and useful way to interact with Laravel application. We're going to type in the console PHP artisan Tinker. Tinker is an interactive read, eval, print loop for Laravel framework. So we can write any valid Laravel code right here, and it's going to be evaluated and gives us the output. As an example, we can type str : random, and it's going to print a random string. So we are using str facade right here and random method of it. If you don't know what is facade, don't worry about this. So we are using str class and random static method of it. In the same way, we have database and we executed migrations, so we have something in the database, and we also registered 3 times in our system, so we can use
Mailpit अर्को यो मेल अथेन्टिकेसन द्याट इज टु कुल खतरा लाग्यो cool mechanism.
user model, and that user is the same user what we have inside app models user right here. Okay, so we are using that user model, and we can call get, which is going to select every user in our database users table and print that. So we're going to talk more about that user model, and we can call get, which is going to select every user in our data.
Okay, user get. PHP artisan thinker. User get is user okay admin
database users table and print that. So we're going to talk more about the users. For now, you can just remember that user class, user model, right here, is a representation of users table in the database. And when we execute user get, it basically selects all the users from users table. Alright, and we see 3 users at the moment. So we have Zura, we have John, we have Mary. And we can see all the details of each user as well, like the name, email verified, add, password, and everything basically. And whenever we add new columns into users table, or whenever we create new tables, in the same way we can interact to them and select information or update them. So let's select the first user as an example. So user equals user, and let's execute first. We hit the enter, so this is the first user, Zura, and let's actually change the name. User name equals the codeholic, semicolon, and then if we just simply type right now user, so we can see that the username is the codeholic. However, this needs to be synchronized into the database. Right now we only updated an instance of a user class, user model class, but we have to reflect this in the database. For this, we are going to execute user save. Now this is already saved in the database, and right now if we reselect the user, like user get, or let's execute user first, now this performs a reselect from the database, and now this new select already returns the name to be the codeholic. So keep in mind that the following interface gives you ability to execute almost any Laravel code, what might be a valid Laravel code. So just make sure that whenever you use certain classes or facades or whatever, you are using with the proper namespaces as well. For example, user actually works with the just user without app models, although the full namespace of the user model is app models. But whenever we try to select something else, such as categories or posts, this is not going to work, and we have to provide app models category or app models post. Now we're going to talk about models and migrations. So let's first generate 2 models with migrations, and then I'm going to give you a full explanation. Let's execute PHP artisan make model. If you don't know what is make model or what it does, you can provide --l right here, and it's going to give you full information about this. So it creates a new eloquent model class, and this is the usage example. We can provide options. So what we are interested in to create a model and a migration file. To create model alongside with migration, we need to provide category as a model name in this case, and we can provide -m flag to indicate that we want to generate migration file for category as well. We hit the enter, and
PHP addition make model category. PHP addition make model category. Exit. PHP artisan मोडल क्याटेगोरी भन्ने मोडल बनाए विथ माइग्रेसन फाइल मलाई नि यही चाहिरहेको थियो ठिक छ
generated two files. One is category model inside app models category, and second is the migration file, which is inside database migrations and the migration name. As you see, the migration has a timestamp right here when the migration was actually generated, and that's actually pretty useful. And I'm going to talk more about this, but let me generate post model as well alongside the migration. Enter, now we see both category and post. And as you see, the timestamp of the post migration is slightly different, in seconds different. And that's on purpose, of course. So this is when we generated the migration file. If we go in the database and have a look in the migration, so these are system migrations that comes with laravel, and it has the 0001. So now these are the migrations what we just generated, and whenever we execute all unapplied migrations, they need to be executed in a sequential order by their generation time. So first, categories, create categories table will be executed. Second, create post table will be executed.
create post table नहीं आने
In post. When the migration was actually the migration M flag to indicate that we want to generate migration file for category as well. We hit the enter and it generated two files. One is category model inside app models category, and second is the migration file, which is inside database migrations and the migration name. As you see, the migration has a timestamp right here when the migration was actually generated, and that's actually pretty useful. And I'm going to talk more about this, but let me generate
post migration पनि हालिहाल्नु CLEAR clear post पनि आयो ल
model as well alongside with the migration. We hit the enter, now we see both category and post. And as you see, the timestamp of the post migration is slightly different, in seconds different. And that's on purpose, of course. So this is when we just, and whenever we execute
database migration create category र post create table आयो
all unapplied migrations, they need to be executed in a sequential order by their generation time. So first, categories, create categories table will be executed. Second, create post table will be executed. But let's remember what is migration. Migration is a special file that contains database schema changes. And it's very common practice and very, very recommended to always write migrations for your project. Although migrations are not kind of mandatory, and you can work directly by modifying the database schema from your database client, such as phpMyAdmin, for example, but it is not recommended. It is recommended to create migrations because this is a documentation of your schema. When you created the users table, when the users table was modified, what columns were added, and so on. And whenever you push your project on production, you simply execute all the migrations what you have in the project, and the production database schema will be the exact same as you had when you were working locally on your project. Or if you have a new team member in your project and you want the new team member to clone the project and set it up, then the colleague will simply execute the migrations, and the colleague will have the same schema as you or other team members have. So migrations are actually kind of very essential part, and don't ever work without migrations. That's my recommendation. Now, the code right here tells us to create categories table, and inside this closure function, we are actually accepting an argument, a parameter table, and we are executing table ID method and table timestamps method. The ID method, if we follow this using control and mouse, this is actually generating big increments column ID column, which basically means that this is an auto increment and primary key column. As for the timestamps, it generates two columns, created at and updated at. So whenever we execute the migration, this table will have ID, created at, and timestamps columns. So now let's go ahead and other column as well, such as string name. So we want our categories table to have a name as well. Let's say we don't hear anything else at the moment and only name is enough. So the migration has two main methods, up and
string.
down. Whatever we put inside up, we should do the reverse inside down, because sometimes we might need to execute the migrate down, which should do the opposite of what we did inside up. So if we are creating categories table, we have to drop the categories table inside down, which is exactly what Laravel generated for us at the moment. Now let's open posts table and let's add a few more columns right here. So inside post table, we need string post title, we need text to be the content of the post, but that I want to be a long text. So I also want that the post table to have a foreign key to be connected to categories. So here the Copilot auto-completes that for me. So foreign ID, category ID, constrained, and that constrained means that if there is no category existed in the categories table, and we provided that category ID right here, the post will not be created. So that's a constraint, foreign key constraint. However, the cascade on delete cascade.
Try to continue.
Right here means that if the category was deleted, all its posts will also be deleted. So in the same way, we want to associate each post into a specific user. So we need user ID right here as well. cool. We need slug as well, which is going to be a unique identifier of the title. So from title, we're going to generate unique slug, and we're going to use this inside the URL to select the post. And that must be unique, because whenever we select the post, we should be able to select only one. Okay, and we also need a thumbnail, and let's actually auto-complete this. So we need string thumbnail. Actually, let's change and call this image. Let's skip this boolean is published, and we can use timestamp published at. So if the published at
it is null,
it means that the post is not published. If the published it is not null, and if it is in the past, then we know that the post is published and we can display this. However, we can also set the published it to be in the future, meaning that at some point the post will be displayed on the website. That's pretty cool. So now we have, let's actually move this up. So we have image, title, and slug. We have content, we have category ID, user ID, and we have published ad, which is nullable. So we have, in my opinion, we have at the moment all the necessary columns what we need for the post table. So I'm going to save this. Now, whenever we execute migrate command, it is going to create two tables in the database. Now, let's do this. We're going to execute PHP artisan
migrate,
and it's going to apply migrations for categories and post table.
PHP artisan migrate.
And finally, if we execute PHP artisan db show, this is going to show the information about the database, such as the connection, database, host, port, and so on. And we're going to see right here categories and post table already. So we have created these tables.
लगायो डाउनलोड हुँदैछ
Information about the database, such as the connection, database, host port, and so on. And we're going to see right here categories and post table already. So we have created these tables in the database. Now we can access Tinker by executing PHP artisan Tinker, and we can execute category get. However, this is not going to work because we have to provide fully qualified name for category model, such as app, models, category, and then if we execute get, this is going to give us the collection of category records in the database. But because right now we don't have anything, this returns just empty collection. Now let's talk about factories and database seeders. First, let me generate factories, and then I'm going to explain why they are necessary and what purpose they actually have. Let's execute PHP artisan make factory, and we have to provide the factory name. In this case, I'm going to call this host factory. Whenever we are generating a new model, we can actually generate factory alongside with the model, just like we generated migration file with the model. So if we generate the model, we can provide PHP artisan make model, for example post, and then we can provide -f to generate factory alongside with the post. However, because we already have post model generated, that's why we need make factory, and we call this post factory. We hit
PHP artisan make factory post factory.
the enter, post factory was actually generated. Now let's go into post PHP, and we have to use that factory. For this, we're going to use a trait has factory, and that has factory needs to be imported right here as well. Now let's open host factory and have a look. The purpose of the factory class is to generate definitions for each fields of the corresponding model or the database table name. So in this case, we know for sure that host model has title right there. So we want to generate some data for title. That might be some fake data, or it might be always static one. So in this case, I'm going to use fake package to generate a sentence a real sentence or fake sentence for my post. So in the same way, we need to generate some paragraph as a content. We have to generate, let's have a look in migration to see what other fields actually the post factory supports. By the way, I noticed that I have images right here, but we don't need actually images, so that should be image. Now we have to roll back the migration and reapply it. Let's open the terminal, and before I do this rollback and reapply, let's see what is the table, what is the column name inside the post table at the moment before I roll back and what is the column name inside the post table at the moment before I roll back and reapply the migration. PHP artisan db table, we hit the enter, and we can choose the table name, for example posts. We hit the enter. Actually, we should choose main hosts. We hit the enter, and now look at this. So we have this images column right here, but now we're going to execute PHP artisan migrate colon rollback, and we have to provide dash dash step to be 1. Only one last migration needs to be rolled back. We hit the enter, create post table was rolled back. Now we execute PHP artisan migrate, and the migration was reapplied. Actually, we have to fix this. So we have to execute rollback again, and we have to execute migrate again, in which case the new table will have image, not images. Now if we execute PHP artisan db table, and we provide main posts, we're going to see that the column name is actually called image, not images. That's pretty cool. Now let's get back to the factory, and right here we have to provide title. We have to provide actually slug. Let me do the following. I'm going to take this fake sentence and save into a variable called title, like this. Then I'm going to use title right here, and then we're going to use slug right here. But I'm going to use this illuminate support str facade slug static method to generate slug out of the following title. So we're going to generate a couple of paragraphs. We can provide the number of paragraphs we want to generate. That actually accepts this number of sentences right here. That's pretty cool. Next, what columns do we have? So for image we can actually generate some random image. So we're going to use image fake image URL.
Okay.
Next, we have category ID. Okay, we're gonna generate some random category ID, and we can choose a random number from 1 to 10, but the category might not exist. From 1 to 10. So the best will be to choose to use category model, then select all categories in random order, select the first category and take its ID. and we have to also generate the user ID. For now, let's generate every post for user 1. As for the published edge, we can make it optional and it should be a date type.
Okay.
So we defined how each
Date time.
field should look like when we generate some data using factory. Now, let's talk about seeders. Let's go into database. We have factories right here. We have one factory, but let's open seeders and open the database.
Okay.
Seeders. The seeder class, the purpose of the seeder class is to seed some data, create some data, or update some data into the database. So right now, as you see, we are using the user factory class to create a single user with a name and email into the database. So we're going to delete this. We don't want it. But we want to create categories and posts into the database. For this, I'm going to use category. Okay, we haven't created factory class for the category, and I'm going to do it slightly.
Let me install the extension. यो इन्स्टल गरेँ
slightly different way. So I don't want to generate random data for categories. Instead, I'm going to define categories as an array right here, and let's define few categories such as technology. Let's define in singular form technology, health. Let it be science, sport. Okay, fine. Politics, entertainment, and I think that's fine. So we defined 6 categories, and now we're going to iterate over those categories, and we're going to call category create. We're providing finding the category name right here. We don't need slot, we don't have slot. So let's just do like this. We are iterating. Over the categories and creating them into the database. That's pretty cool. Now we can already use post factory and generate some random posts into the database. For this, we're gonna use post colon factory, and I'm gonna generate 100 posts into the database. We have to import the post model just like we are importing category right here. So at the top, let's duplicate this category and change this into post. That's pretty cool. Okay, we can delete this app models user because we use this into code. Do this in the database city. Now we defined how to create data into the database from the database seeder. How can we execute that database seeder to actually create the data? There are two ways. One of them is we can execute seeder alongside with the migration. So when we execute PHP artisan migrate, we can actually provide --seed to generate seed data as well. Second way is second artisan command is specific to execute the seed data. PHP artisan db seed. We hit the enter. Seeding database has been completed, and now we
सिडिङमा समस्या आयो। हाल्दै छैन र बडी छ पोस्टमा चाहिँ फेरि त body state body post-factor.php कन्टेन्ट छ त तल लिकै टाइम दिन्छ trying to create post with article user ID. There is no guarantee that user ID won't exist. So update your database seeder.php user first. Database seeder post factory.php to use. फाइनली भयो केटा हो फाइनली भयो च्याटजिपिटी साला चुतिया बनाउँछ त मान्छेले बेला बेलामा त सुरुमा सही एन्सर दिन्छ त्यसपछि चुतिया बनाएर घुमाएर पिलाएर हरामी छे अब
we should see some data into the database. So right now we have only database seeder, but you can actually create more seeders into the seeders folder. For this, you need to execute php artisan make seeder, and you need to provide the seeder name. Let's call this post seeder. We hit the enter. The post seeder was created. We can open this and have a look. The syntax obviously is very similar to database seeder, and we can write creating posts right here on the following area. If we want to use other seeders inside the main seeder, which is the database seeder, we can actually do the following. So right here in this run method, we can do this call and providing the other seeder name. So alongside with the code what we have written here to create categories and posts, it will also execute the post seeder. Let me do this. However, if you want to execute a specific seeder from the command line, you need to execute php artisan dbseed --class to be post seeder. We hit the enter, CD database has been completed, but because our post seeder run method is empty, nothing actually happened. So I just wanted to show to you how you can create a different seeder class, how you can call this in the database seeder, or how you can execute the terminal command to execute the specific seeder. But I'm going to delete the post seeder because I have every seeding code in my database seeder. That's pretty cool. Now, the seeder has been completed, and now we are going to have a look in the database. PHP artisan tinker. You know what? I'm going to leave always tinker open, and I'm going to open new terminal whenever I need to work with the artisan. Okay, we can even give names. Let's expand this. So this is a tinker. We can give it name tinker. I'm going to give it name with server, and this is for artisan. Okay, awesome. So we are in the tinker, and let me execute app host app models host get. We hit the enter, and now this returns post get.
Add model post get. Artisan make tinker teacher app model post get app models post get. ID image content.
We hit the enter, and now this returns 100 posts, as you see. So we see the following post.
App model post get.
And now post get. App models post get.
Database हेरौँ त post 70 वटा छ त 10 आने थियो त एक घण्टाबाट ल Okay, we will close this project. Basic CMS. यो वेबसाइट हैन ओके 10:40 गएछ जसले हेर्दैन चाहिँ सब्स्क्राइब हान्नुलाई कोड त आयो मेन चाहिँ के भन्दाखेरि जसले हेर्दैन चाहिँ सब्स्क्राइब हान्नुलाई मेन चाहिँ के हो भन्दा PHP partition so it's a create पनि यो बनाइसी एउटा क्याटेगोरी कन्ट्रोलर फ्रन्ट इन्ड डट क्याटेगोरीमा आइरहेको थियो यसले फ्रन्ट इन्डमा फ्रन्ट इन्ड डट क्याटेगोरी पनि बनाएको छ mainly I'll display the category from the database. के डाटाबेस में पहिला चेक गरौँ त categories okay node project ओके यो क्याटेगोरी नभन्ने जस्तो छ तर हुन्थ्यो भोलि लाग्छ रात 11-12 बज्न थाल्छ कहिले बन्छ त यहाँ क्याटेगोरी हाल्नु छ front end layout this layout how do I fix it with here updated navigation fix this मैले सुरु गरेर कोड जेनेरेट गर्न यति लामो कोड जेनेरेट गर्छ त्यो डिप्सिल सर्टकटमा भन्नु पुरै चेन्ज गर्यो यसले तीनटा पोस्ट निकाल्दा छ जम्मा दुईटा पोस्ट छ मेरोमा के निकालेको अहिले एकचोटि अहिले हेरौँ त के एरर आउँदो रहेछ ये बुझ्ने सिधै डिलिट गरिदिन्छु कसैले मलाई क्लाउड युज गर भनेर भन्यो जस्ट युज क्लाउड भयो अनि क्लाउड युज गर्न थालेको ओके आई क्यान सी योर आउट्स correct categories log maps so method now I need to see a couple of more pieces to then here portion oral potential one missing relationship in category model. Integrating model. सबै बुलसिट छ। Okay, bye bye for today. See you tomorrow. Bye everyone. अब म एकछिन अफलाइन कोडिङ गर्छु अनि सुत्छु